Today's question comes from David in Georgia. I'm 32 years old, and I'm on baby step 7. Whoa! Way to go, David. I've been disciplined and intense with money since I was 18 years old. I am feeling very, all caps, discouraged, knowing that I'm fighting this whole thing single-handedly. How can I be intentional about meeting someone to marry? Oh, David wants to get hitched. That's a loaded question that we could literally take a full show to answer.
Yeah, I would love to talk to David here. Sometimes people get so intense about goals and objectives.
Yep.
They then want to use that same energy and model for human connection. And anytime a person becomes a goal or a strategy or an objective, you've devalued that relationship, and that's not somebody who has any business marrying you, and you shouldn't marry them.
Yeah.
Right? So for somebody who is hyper goal-driven, hyper outcome-focused, human relationships are going to be challenging, right? What do you think, Ken?
Well, the question is, how can I be intentional about meeting someone to marry?
Put yourself in situations where you're going to meet people.
So I wrote this book called The Proximity Principle that had nothing to do with marriage, but it applies here as well. The Proximity Principle came from the show when I just started giving people advice on how to get where they want to go. And it simply says this: in order to do what you want to do, you got to be around people that are doing that in places where it is happening. So if you want to get intentional about meeting people to marry, you start going, what's the type of woman I want to marry? You know, don't turn it into a giant checklist like John's saying. However, you can say, hey, I want to meet this type of woman who maybe has these values. And guess what? Once we have a general idea of what we're looking for in a life mate, then we know where those people are.
See, I want to start doing that. Before that, I want him to, I love the idea of proximity. I want him just to start hanging out with people.
Well, I think he probably is.
You think so?
Yeah, it's hard to read into this question. Here's my point. You want to meet women, then where are
go be around
those
women.
Type of women? Yeah, it's like here's one idea. Just be a normal human being and hang out with other people in groups. I think that's what you're saying. And then if you see a woman that is attractive to you, you be a gentleman and you ask them out. And if she says no, don't go back to your cave and suck your thumb. Do it again, and eventually someone will say yes. And then be a gentleman and keep doing it until finally, John,
ta-da,
the light bulb goes off. Right. Let's not overthink this. How do I be intentional to meet somebody?
Be intentional.
Meet women. Don't be a creeper. And be clear on what you think you want your wife to be like, sound like, act like, whatever. You just have. You just gotta
be a person that other people want to be in partnership with. Be a person who's shows up and is safe and is kind and treats people with dignity and is respectful. I mean, be a person that someone wants to connect with.
Yeah. And David, you know what? I'm feeling this. This is a little bonus advice.
What's the bonus?
I'm reading into this, so we got to be fair, folks. We have limited information here. It's not a caller. I think David needs to be careful on date number 1, not to do a full expose on these gals' finances. He's intense.
Yeah, don't talk about your money, man.
Yeah, chill out on the money right now. Because you're in baby step 7, you're in good shape, you can do this.
But does it make sense what I'm saying?
If
he meets somebody and asks them out, and the goal of this is not to get to know somebody, to hang out and to have some laughs, to learn about somebody. The goal is to begin running the algorithm of, is this person marriage material?
Not a good idea.
No,
you're going to scare girls. Scare them half to death.
You're going to melt people.
Yeah.
And your very that you put here in all caps is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Your discouragement is going to get more frustrating. Meet people for the sake of meeting people. Be with people for the sake of being people. And from that, you'll develop relationships with folks that will turn into something bigger and better than that.
Yeah, and you know what? Go read some books on some older classic books on what it means to be a gentleman. If I was going to give advice to any young dude these days, I'd go, you know what? I don't care what the world's telling you. I don't care what culture has become. I'm telling you, be a gentleman.
What does that mean?
To me?
Yeah.
Well, when it relates to relating to women, it's first and foremost, you may be attracted to them, but you still must respect them, treat them, open their car door, listen to them, value them.
Yeah.
Don't just be attracted to them. They're not an object.
Right.
They are a beautiful part of this world. And so being a gentleman is kind, respectful, thoughtful, not selfish with women in every aspect. I'll just leave it at that. I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But I think it's obvious. I don't know that a lot of young 20-somethings think about what it means to be a gentleman and how you treat women.
I love it.
A lot of the garbage that's going on in the world even if you're unhealthy, but if you go, you know what, I got to be a gentleman.
Yeah.
I got to be a gentleman. Like dads, if we were teaching our boys to be gentlemen, a lot of stuff going on between the sexes would not be as gross if we were just
treat each other with dignity, right?
This is the standard.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a gentleman.
Yeah. It starts with young people watching their parents treat each other right.
That's right.
And talk to each other with dignity and treat each other with respect and not throwing temper tantrums.
Yeah.
And adults throw temper tantrums and treating each other with with utmost dignity and respect. And kids learn by watching, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But we have long since gotten over the art form of just teaching manners and just how do you just treat people. So I know I'm old school in it right now, but there it is.
I'm old school too.